All right, guys, got a video here that I'm making on my commute, and yeah, this one, disclaimer at the beginning of the video, this is not financial advice, but this is just a video that I wanted to make talking about my understanding of finance, what I've been doing for the last several years to understand this insane system that we live in right now. And make no mistake, I'm not here to be like one of those, you just gotta try harder, bro. You gotta work harder, bro. You gotta go out and do more things, bro. I'm not really that. This is more of a like, if you guys know who Julius Evola is, the author, he wrote a book called Ride the Tiger. Essentially, the book is about accepting your set of circumstances, and every generation goes through this, by the way. This isn't like a millennial thing. This isn't like a Gen X or a Gen Z thing. Everyone is born into their epoch, you could say, of time, right? You're born into your set of circumstances, and it's kind of up to you to determine what you can control and then accept what you can't. And most of the time there are things that you just flat out can't control. And so you just have to learn how to accept them. And I hate to use the term win the game, but it's kind of like that. So yeah, there's that's kind of the premise of what I'm going to be talking about in this video is I'm not here to tell you to like go out and finance max, and this is really more of a warning, if anything, of what's coming. Because like I said, I held off making videos about a lot of things, and I'll probably start making these more regularly. I'm going to try to make a video a day, just to kind of see where the channel goes. And it's not really going to be Eagles related, so if you guys aren't down for that, I apologize. But you know, I can only cover the Philadelphia Eagles so much. I really, they're kind of during the season I'll cover them, but other than that, so yeah. So this video is gonna just be about understanding the financial situation, and I'll probably have to make multiple videos in this, but the first one is kind of understanding the stock market. If you guys, a lot of you Zoomers especially now, are probably getting into that stuff because you guys are like, God, I feel so old. You guys are probably like in your late 20s now. Yeah, you guys are probably now looking, obviously, you guys are, the generations at this point are more and more stunted. It was like the millennials, we didn't really start adulting until we were like early 20s, and now with Zoomers, it's way later. And you know, there's many reasons for that. That's another topic for another day, of like why people are just not motivated to work anymore, to even care about a lot of things, because society it's clown world. We live in a clown world. So but yeah, to understand the stock market, essentially what I was going to try to do is for one, again, not financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm not telling you not to do anything. I'm just giving you my personal, admittedly biased take on these things. So if I was a young guy, I would not buy into the stock market before doing lots of research. That's the caveat. Like you need to know. Basically, don't follow the Warren Buffett or who's that guy? I always forget the guy that wrote the all those like investor books, right? They're like, there's the Most Intelligent Investor. There's like One Up on Wall Street, like all of these books. The thing about Wall Street is that it's basically designed as a casino. And it really took me, oddly enough, it took me learning about Bitcoin to even understand a lot of this stuff. And I would encourage anyone that's watching this video right now, if you don't know about Bitcoin yet, I would highly recommend you start learning about it now. There's an amazing book called The Bitcoin Standard, among many. And in fact, what inspired this video is there's another book called Layered Money about Bitcoin. That's what kind of got me thinking about starting to make these kinds of videos. But yeah, if you understand Bitcoin, you'll understand the stock market, is a good way to think about it. You'll understand real estate. You'll understand a lot of these things. They'll start clicking in your brain because Bitcoin is the soundest money around. And I'm not trying to make this a Bitcoin video, just full disclosure. But there's a lot to be said about the financial system, why Bitcoin exists, what's the point of it, what's the end goal of Bitcoin. All those things matter. So there's that. But yeah, the way to understand the stock market is, like I said, it's a casino, and you don't really own anything. When you buy stocks, this might be like elementary knowledge for a lot of you, so I apologize if I'm explaining things that you already know, but the point I'm trying to get is there's no real way to get ahead in the stock market. And as you're seeing with the boomers right now with Trump's tariff thing, you really can't rely on something like the stock market for your retirement, which I don't believe anyone really retires. That's another video for another day. But you're not going to retire off the stock market. And again, not financial advice, just my biased opinion is that things like 401ks, Roth IRAs, like you should learn about these things, but a lot of jobs, like especially if you go like to job interviews, they'll talk about, oh yeah, we like match the 401k and we give you blah, blah, blah. Again, it's better to just avoid all that if you can. That's my totally biased, not financial advice. It's better to learn about Bitcoin and figure out what you're going to do there. You know, look into property too. If you're going to, like, another asset is look into property, especially if you're a renter. If you're paying like $2,000 plus a month in rent, you should really look into property. Now, I know that we live in a clown world. Like, I read this article a while ago about how like people were getting denied. They basically were paying more in rent than a mortgage, but when they went to buy a house, they were getting denied based on like credit or something. So it's a clown world in that, like, it's basically the takeaway was you can afford to pay this rent, which is more than the mortgage would be a month, but we're not gonna sign this house on for you because, you know, you're a risk. But the real takeaway of this video that I want to get across for all of you guys, just personal advice that I've learned in my own years. It's kind of put me in a good situation in life too. Like, I'm definitely not a rich man, but I also am at a point in my life where I can kind of decide when I want to work. Because I've chosen to make certain sacrifices, and a lot of that is it's the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. If you guys want to go through like the Robert Kiyosaki, Dave Ramsey pipeline, that's the takeaway from those books. It's very boomer in a lot of its advice, but the really good takeaway is that if you don't try to keep up with the Joneses, basically if you don't try to have like the hottest gadgets or the next best thing, you can really live below your means and be completely fine. Now, this is also granted that you don't have like a woman, because women are the biggest reason why people are in financial trouble. And he's blaming women, but I'm not really blaming women. This is just how women are. And especially in the current day with all the propaganda, women are, they want everything to be really nice, and they want to, you know, now they're in the workforce as well. They want to be the high earners, but you don't have to live like that. There's that meme with the guy, right, where it shows the mattress and it literally shows like a mattress, a lawn chair, and like a flat screen TV, and it says, women are so mad that this is all it takes to make a man happy or something like that. And it's very true. There's a lot of truth to that. You know, other than a substantial amount of books, I don't really have a lot of stuff. I have like a TV, an Xbox, a bed, and then I have books. And yeah, and clothes, right? Like that's all I need. And I like to eat food, go to the gym, things like that. So it is very true. And there's another concept called lifestyle creep. It's where you like make a certain amount of money and then you're like, oh, I'm making this amount of money, so I should like upgrade my lifestyle, right? I need to spend more to justify the money I make. I had a friend, I won't do names here, but I had an acquaintance, you could say, that used to be like this, where like anytime he made any money, he'd be sitting on like $3,000 or something like that, which isn't a lot of money, but he would immediately be like, oh, I gotta spend it. I gotta put it into a project or something. And so if you can resist urges like that, like right there, you're gonna be so far ahead of things. And again, this is why I say to look into something like Bitcoin or property, because you also don't want to just save money purely. You do want to keep cash. I would recommend actually, with my totally biased, not financial advice, that you sock away at least 20% of your income in cash, just because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. 20 to 15, and this is just to cover, you know, like your life expenses essentially, and have some cash, liquid cash, if you have like emergencies you need to take care of. But other than that, you should be hedging for inflation. Another thing is, I don't know why I didn't bring this up, is gold, obviously. Gold and silver, Bitcoin, and property. These are these tend to be assets that retain their value, increase their value. Bitcoin especially. Bitcoin is every 5 years, it's a 10x, like guaranteed. So that one's very good if you're just trying to stay above inflation. Like that's the way you got to think about it. Like if you're working at a job, and you get like a raise every year, the raise typically on like the high end is like 3 to 4%. So you're already like losing right there. So yeah, that's why you have to invest. You have to just take as much disposable income that you're just not using and put it somewhere and just kind of like let it sit. So yeah, all of this, like I said, these are going to be like a little bit longer videos because there's a lot of things I want to discuss. You know, there's a lot of topics that I've been mulling over for several years. I mean, politics, religion, finance, right? Like this is what I've been up to for the last 5 years. Why I don't really make tons of content anymore about the Eagles, because they're I mean, part of it's, you know, age, but also just not super relevant to everything going on and really what I want the channel to be going forward. So this video is more just to kind of be an introduction to what I'm going to be talking about, and I'm going to try not to try not to pick like slop topics. Like I don't want to talk about like the current thing all the time, like what Trump is doing this, Trump is that. It's going to be more from like a geopolitical perspective. If I do talk about politics, more from like a financial perspective, you know, philosophical for sure. I am religious, but I'll try not to get too much into that unless people really want that. But I'm still very much learning when it comes to religion. If you guys want like an awesome channel that's helped me a lot, is Jay Dyer's channel. Fantastic for this stuff. But I'm still very much in the learning phase of that. So I don't feel confident to discuss those things yet. But politics, finance, philosophy, I think I'm at a point now where I can discuss these things with some wisdom. I hope that you guys can get some useful information out of these things. And so yeah, another thing to kind of like close this video to kind of wrap this one up specifically is the reason why I'm talking about the stock market and finances, all this, is because everything is overinflated right now. And if you're a young guy, your first real big crisis that you've probably lived through is COVID. So because COVID is like your first like real crisis, you haven't been through the cycles, right? Like that millennials have been through. We've been through so many cycles at this point. It's just like unreal as far as upturns. Like just to give you an example, like I was a kid. Zoomers would have been kids too when this happened, so maybe you've been through two. But millennials specifically, I say that we've been through three, which is 9/11, the financial crisis of 2008, and now COVID, which COVID's the worst one financially speaking, because COVID really messed up things a lot more than people realize. The amount of money printing that went on during COVID, I think it surpassed like all-time records for money printing in like the history of the country. So there's charts that you can look up. You know, I'm doing this very low tech on my phone. I would like to be able to make the videos a little bit more high tech, put graphs and stuff in there. But you can look all this up. Just look up the amount of money printed from you could even do from the beginning of Trump. You could go like 2017 to now. If you guys haven't seen that chart yet, you'll be shocked. So that's another thing, is that the money is becoming valueless at such a pace that you basically have to, you can't plan 30 years ahead. You need to plan like 5 years ahead. You need to be thinking like, what's my money going to look like in 5 years from now? And so you have to find the best assets. And again, those from my research, my completely biased, non-financial advice opinion from my own research, is that Bitcoin, gold, housing, you could even say like ammunition. If things get really bad, having like ammunition, I think ammunition in its own way could be like a form of currency, because you know, if you have to like hunt again, I'm not saying that would be like crazy apocalyptic levels of collapse, but you know, it's always possible, guys. That's another thing to plan for, is that plan for the worst, expect or hope for the best. It could always get way worse. So you kind of want to plan for financial crisis, society crisis, and things of that nature. But yeah, I've got plenty of video ideas, so I hope that this one gets a bunch, and I'm going to try to make one a day, so you guys will be getting at least one rant a day, and I'm going to kind of like schedule them out, try all that stuff, all that YouTube stuff with scheduling videos out, and you know, seeing how I can get them going for that. I might just film a bunch in one day, schedule them out for the week, and then see how it goes from there. But yeah, this video, that it's kind of all over the place. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more focused as I go on. But the primary takeaway from this video, if you've watched this far, is diversify your finances, but in many ways, you got to just ignore all the boomer advice, because the boomers grew up in the perfect economy. Like the older I get and the more time that passes, the more that really sinks in, that the boomers had the ideal financial situation. They were born right after World War II. They got to experience, you know, this. They had their like party time. That's another thing. Like I could make a whole video about boomers, but basically they got the 70s where they got to have their you know, their party time, and then they were allowed to basically become yuppies, right? They had like an off ramp that millennials have not had. Gen X certainly didn't have. Gen Z definitely will not have. Gen Z is just checking out. That's what's crazy about Gen Z. I don't even know what happens after them. But the boomers had the off ramp, is what I call it. And you know, if you guys know about the term yuppie, that's where it comes from. They partied their entire, you know, youth, and then once they hit their 30s, like, okay, well, I'll settle for the 2.5 kids with Jan, and I'll take the off ramp and get some nice office job and work till retirement. Like the boomers were able to do all that. They actually were. Like most of my friends, boomer parents, like that's basically what they did. You know, they were hippies when they were young, and then they became yuppies in the 80s and 90s. And I don't know if a lot of boomers are going to get to retire. That's another thing. They might not actually get to retire, but they were sold that line, and for most of their life, they were, up until probably like 2008, they enjoyed financial stability. You know, you had the dot-com bubble as well, but that wasn't widespread. That was more like that a few people got screwed by that because the internet was so young back then. But you know, the financial crisis of 08 was probably the one that like affected all of the boomers. So yeah, that's the way, that's the takeaway. I kind of rambled a little bit more there at the end, but that's the takeaway, is that I want you guys to be thinking about, if you haven't already, obviously, a lot of you this might have already occurred to you, but I want you guys to be thinking about what assets are going to be good 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but not like 30 years from now. Even the 30-year mortgage, it's not the best way to go. I don't know. There's like debates on it. You can do like a 15 or a 30-year, but the housing thing will have to be another video, because that's much more complex than just telling you the houses that I would look at. But anyway, that's the video. I don't want this to be about too many things. The takeaway here is just learn about Bitcoin. Understand that the stock market is a fraud. Understand that a lot of the value that you see in things, this is including Bitcoin actually, but a lot of the value in fiat that you see in things nowadays is fake and gay. It's not real value. Again, the best way to experience this is just go study those graphs, and you'll kind of get a clear picture. But that's the video, guys. I'll talk to you later. If you've watched the video, I appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that like button. Helps the algorithm. And if you're not subscribed, now's a good time. Talk to you later.